summer of 1987, a group of Watertown residents began meeting to discuss a serious problem. It was becoming increasingly difficult for young families, seniors on fixed incomes, tradesmen, small business owners, even teachers, police officers, firefighters, and other town employees to find housing they could afford. After several years of informal activity to address the problem, the group formed a non-profit community development corporation in 1991. They called their new organization Watertown Community Housing, or WCH. With funding from the town and from state and federal agencies, WCH offered a series of programs to preserve affordable housing in Watertown. It offered down payment assistance to first-time homebuyers and made no-interest loans to help low-income owners repair and weatherproof their homes. The town council had enacted the first inclusionary zoning ordinance in 1989. 10 years later, it had resulted in only one unit of affordable housing. WCH worked hard for the passage of a much stronger law, which went into effect in 2000.
Inclusionary zoning is based on the state's Chapter 40B law, which is the state's affordable housing law. Just requires that the occupants be at 80% of the area median income or less, and the area median income is established by HUD annually. 80% of area median income for a family of two, it's $51,000. So most of the applicants we see for ownership projects are earning between $40,000 and $60,000, depending on their family size. So they're certainly working people. They're usually two working adults and one or two kids. And the rental projects we see tend to be a slightly lower income group. They tend to be in the $20,000 and $30,000 range. But again, they tend to be working people, absolutely.
The first thing we did was a first-time homebuyer program where we got money from the state and the federal government and helped people with their down payments. We did, I don't know how many houses, 30, 40. And then we did what I thought was a great program. It's called HIP, H-I-P, Home Improvement Program, where we got money primarily from the state and from the town, and we used that money to help people fix up their houses.
And then I think really the first significant project that was done with home funds was the Quimby Street condos, and it was pretty scary, I think, for the board in particular to purchase these two adjoining two-family houses that needed a lot of work. The questions being, could we carry out the renovation in a cost-effective way, and would we find four families who would want to live there afterwards for a modest purchase price, but there would be no appreciation or very little appreciation on that price. And that was a somewhat new concept at the time. But I think that in the end we found four families who were quite happy to live there, and the units looked great.
And it meant a lot for the organization, not just because the board members and the community members and the town was fabulous and is fabulous, really wanted to deliver these four units for the community, but for the organization's growth and maturation, it was really important that we get the job done and that we do it well. Everybody just really put all hands on deck, and we worked extremely hard to make sure that we did what we had to do to rehab those units, to market them in an appropriate, affirmative, positive way, to run our lottery as we should, and to help the first-time homebuyers who had the opportunity to purchase the units, help them get their financing, get their training to put their financing packages together, and then get them fully resided in. So it was exciting, and it was just a real feather in the organization's cap. I think that the board members came out feeling like, we can do this. And the town officials and the neighbors in the area, I think all felt like, we can do this in Watertown, and this is the right thing to do, and it's really positive for everyone.
We had several fiscal crises along the way. Where we were running out of money, we didn't quite know what the future was gonna hold, but somehow we always managed to pull through. So I always, after a while, I kind of always had a feeling that we would survive. And as it turns out, right now we're probably in as good a shape financially as we've ever been. But there were some trying times along the way.
I had the pleasure of working with the board and the community on this amazing project, this amazing place of residence where we are now, Marshall Place Apartments. This physical location was formerly called Marshall Home for the Elderly. We can serve all kinds of people too. You know, people who are low-income senior citizens, people who are moderate-income first-time home buyers. We're all in this together and we can serve all kinds of people. It was nice to see that not only finishing the first project was great, but that we were able to move quickly into serving a different group of people in a different project. And that momentum has continued to build. And everybody has continued to really contribute passionately, so it's really exciting.
In those early years, the programs were primarily one person and one program. So we ran the home improvement program and did that for a couple of years, and the first home program, which was a down payment assistance program. But it was always a struggle, I gathered, to have more than one staff person, even really to have a full-time staff person. And it wasn't until the developments that started occurring around Pleasant Street and the town of Watertown's connecting Watertown Community Housing to those developments by encouraging the developers to hire Watertown Community Housing to conduct their initial marketing and lease-up of the affordable units. And I got involved on the board of directors sort of at the tail end of some of that work that was happening with Archstone Apartments, Riverbank Lofts, Repton Place.
I was one of those like people who were able to get apartments that were put aside for low-income families. My apartment is great. It's a new apartment, which I'm very proud of, and I love living here. I never imagined myself living in such a clean, new house, and I was the first person to live here. I'm able to pay my mortgage, and I've never fallen behind my mortgage. I pay my monthly bills. My credit is great. And all this is because of the support of such community initiatives, housing community initiatives that are within the town and the state.
I think the biggest project was the most recent one, I think, which was 1060 Belmont Street.
And that's when I was hired as executive director to say, okay, we've got this great base of programmatic work that's happening. What's next? What do we want to do? And I remember vividly meeting with most of the other board members and said, okay, gang, I'm coming in here, and what do you want me to do? And the marching orders really were, go find a project, get some real estate done. We want to build and operate affordable housing. It was actually Alex's son-in-law who saw the for sale sign in front of 1060 Belmont Street. This never happens in affordable housing, but we made an offer and it was accepted, and we went on to purchase and then renovate this 18-unit apartment building.
The reason we started Watertown Community Housing is as necessary as it was then, if not more. I mean, I've seen many people, including somebody who was the president of which move out of town because of the cost of housing. Yeah, about 25-year-old woman being the president of our corporation, very active, very energetic. But she and her husband had to move to Lowell because they couldn't afford to live in town. So the situation of people being displaced out of Watertown or not being able to come to Watertown continues to be.
You know, since day one, there's been a tremendous commitment to supporting low-income people, people with various needs, and we want to continue to honor that work. And the threat of gentrification continues, so we want to maintain that work while also exploring other opportunities. And I think encouraging other communities to have some success like us. We're in a unique little part of the world here. It's a very expensive part of the world, the Metro West community. I think we provide a real example of what housing advocates can do with limited resources and maybe helping other communities accomplish some of the things we've been able to.
It's really important and exciting that Watertown Community Housing has grown to be 20 years old, and we're hoping that it will grow to be 40 years old and 60 years old, because people will always need a place to live. People do need a place to live. And in a region like Greater Boston and New England, housing is extremely expensive, and that makes it difficult for people to access a good place to live. And so it's really important that community-based, affordable housing developers who really care about making their communities a safe place for everyone, where people can stay and live and grow a family and grow their lives, continue to exist.
After 20 years of working to preserve and develop affordable housing, in 2011 WCH changed its name to Metro West Collaborative Development and broadened its mission to mobilize residents, resources, and good ideas to improve the quality of life in our Metro West communities.